So we're really, you can write on these as much as you need to. We're really focusing on the student work. The assignment is just to give some background about what they might be working on. Yes, you have 5 to 10 minutes to just really look and see what you notice silently on your own. So we're gonna move into the next phase, but you can obviously still keep looking at the work. I'm just gonna ask, what do you see or what do you notice about the student work? And we're gonna try and keep these really low inference observations that you can point to it and other people would see exactly what you see. And yeah, this is a conversation, so you can just kind of popcorn it out when you feel ready to speak.
The first thing that I noticed was when they were trying to figure out what the temperature was on Tuesday, that they used keep change, but then they also use a number line. And so it doesn't seem that the keep change things was actually like, they used it as part of the calculation.
Okay, so to take it down on the inference,
Oh.
no, you're good. So you see the keep change,
Mhm.
right here with the 11 minus 15 became 11 plus negative 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw,
That they used a number line, which
okay,
would
and
not necessarily, it would correlate more with the original problem, 11 minus 15, as opposed to them actually, they didn't use it, I guess.
okay, so and you're also assuming that they worked from left to right,
Mm-hmm.
which is just an assumption.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things I noticed was the different, seemingly different methods to the right, and was wondering how they might have been related and which came first and which maybe, like whether, like you're saying, like that was one of the questions, like whether or not they were moving from left to right or if they maybe put that down as an extra little piece or whatnot. Not trying to make assumptions.
No, you're
That
fine.
was interesting.
But yes, these are great questions. I do want to try and keep it to description, and then we'll get to more questions.
Sorry,
No,
that was
you're fine. Just for
something
a
I noticed.
couple, just for a couple more, just to make sure we're really grounded in the work first. But you see several different methods, namely 3 different methods used
Yeah.
on the first one.
And I see that in the first ones, there are mathematical symbols, but in 2 and 3, there aren't.
Can you explain?
So like there are pluses and minuses and equals, and like symbols to use for calculations, but in problems in parts 2 and 3, like there's explanations, but they are not with mathematical symbols like equals or plus or minus.
Okay, you're looking 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
down the page. I was still looking at.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I understand that.
For question 2, the answer to question 2, the last word is 12. It's spelled out, whereas the rest are all in numbers.
I think one of the first things I looked for was whether or not the information that was asked for was present for each of the questions.
Okay. What did you?
So if that, for the first table, or for the first question, it was that it asked the student to copy and complete the table, which
Mhm.
the student seemingly did.
Okay.
And like the second question asked for the difference, and the student has answered that. And for the third, it asked for the temperature on Friday. And it just there.
Were there particular things that you saw in answers 2 and 3 that helped you realize that they answered the question?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess for number 3,
Mm-hmm.
she or he starts by just saying the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit on Friday is 1, and then goes into their explanation.
Okay.
Number 2 does the same thing. It's a little wordier to like actually get to the answer, but it's there, and then again it goes into
Mm-hmm.
their way of explaining how they got there.
Okay. So you're seeing some of the common language, the difference, and then it starts
Yeah.
here, the difference.
Mhm.
I noticed on the top right, the 3 number lines. The second and third number lines has arrowheads on both ends, whereas for the first number line, on top there's only 1 arrowhead.
And to go off of that, I also noticed that there were very distinct hash marks on the last number line, whereas the others, they might be present, but they're not quite as clear.
I see on number 1, I'm looking at like the problem they have written out, 11 minus 15. that one and the table of the plus minus, they're in the same order, but not so with the second and third.
So you see 11 minus 15, and then in the table you see 11 and 15.
And then
And then here you see the
negative
numbers
4.
4 and 3, and
But there's
but then they're switched. Okay.
If like looking at the number line, it looks like they are like kind of zooming in on whatever piece, like it's not really scaled, if that makes sense. So like 0 is not in the same place on each number line, essentially.
I see that all the days of the week are capitalized. I like that.
Grammar.
I see at the, what's it called, keep change. The first line, there is numbers on both sides of the equal sign. But for the second and the third, there's only numbers on one side of the equal sign, not on the right side.
Do the other people see?
Yeah.
I noticed that they said that the distance between 11 degrees and -1 is equal to 12, but they use units for the 11 and -1, but didn't put the last number in degrees.
Okay, so
They
12
put
doesn't
12
have.
is not a degree.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Building onto that point for question number 3, the very first number, which is 1, has the degree Fahrenheit, whereas the following few numbers like 5, 2, 10, 5, 9, and 1 doesn't have the degrees Fahrenheit.
We're gonna stay here for a little bit more.
I noticed that they say that Monday through Thursday was equal to 9, but that isn't, like that's not, like what does that mean? You know, like the temperature for number 3, Monday through Thursday was equal to 9, as opposed to saying like the sum of the temperatures from Monday to Thursday is equal to 9. It is kind of assuming that we know what that meant.
and I don't know if this is maybe something that you guys were getting at earlier, but at least with number 2, the student seems to give the answer of 12 degrees Fahrenheit and then goes and is describing the reasoning behind that, and is talking about distance as it relates to 11 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 1 degrees Fahrenheit, but presumably that is part of their calculation or manipulation. However, in number 3, when they're discussing like with the 5, the 2, the 10, and the 5, those degrees and like the Fahrenheit markings aren't there, which was just an interesting something I noticed.
Okay. Say it again, because I got
Yeah,
distracted.
no, it's fine. So for in number 2,
Mhm.
with the reasoning and the calculations of the distance between these two, those are treated as degrees Fahrenheit, whereas the calculations in 3 seem to be treated strictly as numbers without units or degree symbols, and
Okay.
the difference,
Okay.
just that one was like it and one wasn't, was interesting.
I also noticed that it, without making judgments, okay? So like, for number 1, they felt the need to use a number line to calculate the answer, but numbers 2 and 3, there isn't really any work.
Yeah, I was wondering about scratch paper.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that at this point? in the protocol?
No.
So
That's an
you
observation that
don't
we're not
see
handed
other.
scratch paper.
Let me put this as a statement.
Okay.
I do not observe other work for questions 2 and 3.
Okay. Okay.
I see that the questions are answered in the same order they were asked on the assignment.
I see the questions are numbered 1, 2, and 3. And that they stayed within the lines. I was just happy I could read it.
I see though that there's a heading, a title on this table, but there's not one on the student's work.
You see
The title, temperatures outside Cary schools, but then they just copied the table part without the title.
Mhm.
Are we only making reference to the work and not observing anything about the
You can
questions?
try thinking of
Okay.
it.
I noticed that we are talking about the temperature outside of Cary School, but then we don't really mention Cary School in 2 or 3. It's just, I mean, it's obvious that we're kind of talking about it, but it's not like preface is saying like what was the difference in temperature outside of Cary School. It just plainly states the difference in temperature.
Okay, in the question itself.
Yeah.
But it does say Carrie recorded temperature outside her school
Yeah, it's
between
in
2 and
between
3.
2 and 3.
Oh.
For number 3.
Okay, so I just can't, I'm just.
No, you're
No,
It's totally
no,
fine.
I noticed it too, that it wasn't directly linked to like as part of question 3, it was like an intermediary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, Like at first I read it as part 2. And then realized it was not.
Not officially, no.